Welcome into the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel for a special late night live draft over on Sleeper. I am your host, Zack Hanshew, and I am joined by a good friend of mine, Alex Burns. Burnsy, what's going on, brother? How are you, man?
Oh man, I'm doing spectacular. NBA season tips off tomorrow. I can't even believe it.
It's amazing, dude. We got two great games tomorrow night. We got Milwaukee and Brooklyn. We got the Lakers playing, dude. It is going to be one hell of a night. What I'm really most excited about is to jump into this draft with you, to go over some picks, and to work with our good friends over at Sleeper, dude. What do you think
Mhm.
about this?
I love Sleeper. This is my second draft on Sleeper. Last year was my first. I absolutely love it. The format's fun. I know I've been a frequent fantasy football player over at Sleeper. I'm excited for what they're doing in the NBA space. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I think so too, man. And I think for everybody out there that has not used Sleeper or is considering using Sleeper, just a couple of things that just really pop for me. The draft board is like none other. I know when
Mhm.
Dan and I did this the other day, man, the colors pop out. Everything is so bright and visual. I love
Mhm.
that. And when you're actually playing during the season, man, they have something unique called Game Pick. So when you're playing fantasy basketball on other sites, all of your guys play every single game that they're scheduled for the week. For Game Pick, you select your starter, you select your favorite game of the week that they're going to play, and that's it. So if you have LeBron James and he's only playing 2 games that week, and your opponent has Luka who's playing 4 games that week, there's no 2 game disparity there. Each of you pick 1 game for the week. It's a level playing field. It eliminates luck and it just brings strategy into the fold. So it's something that I am totally excited about for Sleeper this year.
Mhm.
So taking a look at the draft board here, man, we are doing a Fantasy Pros writers. So this is our staff league here. It looks like I got saddled with pick number 10, unfortunately, but I'm going to make the best of that one. And you have pick number 3.
Let's
And
do it.
yeah, man, you're going to have your choice of one of the top guys here on the board,
Mhm.
whether it be Giannis or Luka or Jokic or Harden, Steph Curry. The options are unlimited for you, my
Mhm.
friend, and I'm sure you have somebody in mind.
100%. I mean, I'm not convinced he's going to fall to me. But we were talking before we went live here. And to your point, there's about 5 guys that you could take here at, in the first, that make a case to be the first pick overall, especially in a points league. So I don't know if he's going to fall to me. I'm not going to say who I want just because I don't want to tip my hat off to anybody going before me, but we will see.
All right, man. So we're going to get this thing started. I just want to go real quickly over the rules here. We are doing something different for roster. We have no utility or flex spots here. This is going to be just straight up point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center, one guard spot, one forward spot. That's it. We
Mhm.
have no flex spots, and then we get 5 bench spots. So it's going to be a 12-man roster in total, 12 teams. It's going to be point scoring. So we got 1 point per point, 1.2 points for every rebound, 1.5 points for an assist, 3 points for your defensive stats, and -1 for a turnover. Very
Mhm.
simple, very easy to play. I love it. And we're going to just run down the guys that are in this draft, and then we're going to kick this thing off, man. All these guys are contributors at Fantasy Pros. They're awesome. If you haven't already, check out their work. Give them a follow on Twitter. We have Aaron Larson, Dan Harris, our fearless editor-in-chief. Of
Hey.
course, you, Burnsy, Joel Ruffin, Isaiah Sorois, Ethan Biddle, Ari Koslow, Kyle Williams, Scott Bogman, myself, Chris Schommer, and Shane Hoda. So, without further ado, anything you want to add here, or should we go ahead and get this party started, brother?
I'm ready to get this party started. I'm a little nervous right now, I'll be honest with you.
All right, let's do
I,
it, man.
I feel like Dan's going to snipe me here. I have that weird feeling.
Yeah, a lot of sharp minds in this draft, man. You got to stay on your game here. Let's do it. All right, we are starting now. Yes, I am sure I want to start the draft. Let's do it.
I gotta say, if Aaron Larson here doesn't take Giannis, I know he's a Bucks fan. I don't know what I'm gonna do. This is gonna be shocking.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Easy pick, man.
Yeah,
Easy here to call that one. And is Giannis somebody that you would consider at number one? Is that egregious to you?
100%. Now, this would not be the case in a category league, right? Because doesn't
Yep.
shoot super good from the line. See, Dan just sniped me at Jokic. That's who I wanted.
Yeah.
I'll get back to Giannis in 1 second. I'm gonna look at the guys that I have here. I have Luka, James Harden, Stephen Curry. I don't know. I'm really high on James Harden this year. I think if Kyrie doesn't play for the Nets, I think Harden's going to be top 3 fantasy contributor in both, every format there is. So that's tough because Luka sees so much usage, and that's what you chase here really in points leagues. You chase usage, right? You're not really worried about the efficiency. You don't want a lot of turnovers, but you want usage. I'm going to be fun here. I'm going to take Luka. So I'm going to take with my first pick.
Nothing wrong with that, man. It would be Harden or Luka for me for sure, dude.
Yeah.
No issue with that at all.
But back to my point, what I'll say is with Giannis, that's a surprising one right there.
Towns, really?
There we go. With Giannis, it's interesting because he's totally in points leagues. He's literally, I think he was the second most points per game in fantasy basketball last year. So he definitely makes the case for a top pick, in my opinion.
Absolutely, man. How surprised are you here with Towns going before the likes of James Harden or Steph Curry? What do you think about that? What's the strategy?
Love it. Love Towns this year. I don't know if I would have taken him over Harden, but or Curry for that matter, but can't fault it.
Not at all, man. He's going to score a lot of points, grab a lot of rebounds, shoot a lot of threes. And no surprises here, man. Curry, Durant. Any issue with those picks there?
No, not at all. And I mean, if you look at points scoring, fantasy basketball leagues, Karl Anthony Towns, he actually finished, I believe it was 6, 7, 8, 9, ninth in points per game, actually behind LeBron James last season. And I know he didn't play a ton of games. I think he played only 50 games last year, so it's hard to judge him on total points scored. But points per game, he's definitely a top 10 pick for sure.
And so I want to touch on something that we brought up right before we started the draft here is with Sleeper's game pick. For guys that are playing on back-to-backs and might rest, like a Joel Embiid, I think that's definitely a benefit. Or for guys that you might be worried about their health, like a Karl Anthony Towns or maybe a Kevin Durant who might rest. Does that change your strategy at all if you're only picking one game per week for your guy?
Definitely. But it's also tough, too. I mean, I know I played my last fantasy basketball league in Sleeper was last year, and we had that format where it was game pick. And it was, like you said earlier, completely changes the game because it's so interesting and the strategy is completely different. I liked it. I don't know if I think I'm just more of a standard guy. Let all your players play all the games and find replacements if they're out. But it definitely does change the strategy. And with guys like Durant, like you said, Embiid, players that just seem to rest a little bit more. Probably LeBron this year, honestly. I mean,
yeah.
I know it came out today. He's going to play 34 minutes a game, which is not surprising, but I could see him sitting out a little bit too.
So LeBron James, obviously at this point in his career, he's probably going to be better in a points league, right, than in. Oh, it looks like Kyle is coming down to the wire. I hope he was able to get into the draft here because I know he was really talking it up earlier.
Oh, come on, dude.
Come on, dude.
Oh, man. He auto-picked LeBron James.
Or you know what? Maybe I know he goes to bed early. He has to work pretty early in the morning, so he might have set up a queue of his favorite guys. And if I don't hear back from him, then we will talk to him tomorrow about his picks. So what do you think about LeBron at 8?
Like I just said, he finished, I believe it was 9th in points per game last year in a points league. I don't like it. I know it was an auto pick. It probably wasn't him. I'm not a big fan of that pick. I think with adding Russell Westbrook, a high usage point guard, I mean, regardless of what you think about him, he's going to take some opportunities away, potentially a lot of shots. And LeBron's, their main goal is to coast through the regular season here. They got championship aspirations, so they're not going to push them, too hard. So I think he's going to be outside the top 15 in points leagues for me this season.
I agree with you. I think Russell Westbrook was definitely a calculated move to limit his workload. So I have the choice now of Jason Tatum, Trae Young, or Bradley Beal. Those are my 3 guys that I would absolutely want to take right here. But I am going to pivot probably from the norm. I don't know. But I'm going to go for a guy that I think is going to be our scoring champ this year, and that is Bradley Beal. I'm making that move at number 10. I want the points. Wow. I want the usage. I'm going for it. Jason Tatum, I had a tough choice there. Trae Young, I don't know, man. That's a loaded team. They're fresh off of a Eastern Conference playoffs run. He's still ascending, but I'm going to go for a guy that I know is just going to get just a ungodly usage in Bradley Beal. So
Let me ask you a question really quick. While we're talking about the Wizards, I haven't heard anybody talk about this guy in the offseason. What do you think about Spencer Dinwiddie and what he's going to do? Maybe affect some of the shots. I mean, people forget he was averaging 20 points per game before he got hurt in Brooklyn. So, do you think he? I mean, I know playing alongside Russell Westbrook, if anybody was going to take Bradley Beal's production away, it would have been him. But do you think they can coexist well in Washington?
definitely, man. I think Dinwiddie's big scoring opportunities were obviously at the expense of Kyrie when he missed time. I think it was shoulder injury that season. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when Kyrie
Mhm.
missed time, he took over as the team's primary scorer. That was before Harden. That was before Kevin Durant. So they didn't have a ton of go-to options here. I think Dinwiddie is going to be a great facilitator for Washington, but I don't think he's going to be their primary scoring option. I think he's a great secondary, but I think Bradley Beal is your
Mhm.
clear number one. I'm not worried about him at all.
Oh, totally. And if you think about it, it just dawned on me. Bradley Beal plays his entire career next to ball dominant John Wall, right? Then
Hmm.
John Wall's traded, they bring in ball dominant Russell Westbrook. So it'll be really interesting to see how Bradley Beal functions, without somebody that's such a high usage type of point guard.
Yeah, totally, man. And I just want to go back to our draft board here, dude. Look at Shane. Look at that 1-2. You got to love the 1-2 turn, man. In fantasy hoops this year, that seems to be the golden spot for me. I mean, obviously you miss out on a Giannis or a Jokic or a Cat, Harden, whatever, but Trae Young and Joel Embiid, dude. I mean, what
Hmm.
1-2 pick? Your team is just stacked from the start.
Hmm. Yeah. What do you think about Embiid? And I don't want to, he's easily a first round pick. You can make the case for that this season. I think he should have went over LeBron James personally, but obviously it's Karl Anthony Towns for most over Joel Embiid. But if Ben Simmons does not suit up for the Sixers, which that's up in the air right now,
Mhm.
Embiid might see the largest usage rate of his entire career.
Yeah, I think so too, man. I think he could be awesome this year. So again, I have my pick of Anthony Davis, who is ranked number 6 by Sleeper. I am going to bypass him and go for a guy that I really, really love this year. I think he has the potential to be a top 5 guy in Paul George, and I'm going to make that pick
Ooh,
while I'm yammering, so if somebody else can jump on the board here. We got Scott Bogman up next, but um, yeah,
wow.
pivoting a little bit with PG, man. No Kawhi. I think he's just going to get. He's just going to go crazy this year. What do you think about that? Was that a reach? Should I have taken Davis there?
100% not a reach. I actually have Paul George at number 13, which is, I believe you got him at, right? Uh,
Uh, yeah,
No, it was
14.
14. I have him at 13 in my points rankings. I have him as a top 10 guy in my category rankings.
Hmm.
What he did in the playoffs without Kawhi Leonard was sensational. So I love the pick. I just can't believe Anthony Davis fell this far.
Yeah, what do you think? You think Bogman just got massive value there, pairing Lillard with
Huge,
Anthony Davis, man? Yeah,
huge, huge value.
yeah, and maybe for sleeper too. I mean, maybe on Yahoo or ESPN, maybe Davis isn't the guy there, but when you have the game pick option here, I mean, I think maybe that kind of changes things
Yeah,
entirely. So yeah, great pick there.
totally. And you have to think too with the Lakers. We had, what is this going to be, the third season in the last, I don't know, last year, with COVID-19 obviously interrupting everything and changing the schedule and all that. But I mean, how much does Anthony Davis's struggles last season, point to him having not that much rest in the offseason, right? Somebody that has been hurt a lot, has, just seen his body deteriorate over time. Maybe just this season, a full offseason of rest, you're going to get a top, first round value Anthony Davis.
Yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to see how that works, man. Because I think the Lakers have a ton of pressure on them this year. I mean, I know they're a year removed from winning the championship, but LeBron is not getting younger. They brought this team together. They signed about a million guys on a 1-year deal as LeBron has done since he arrived in Los Angeles. So I think
Mhm.
the pressure's on him every single year, man. And this Russell Westbrook signing was kind of controversial, just to, wondering how much he has left in the tank and how much he can really help them to win this championship. So
Mhm.
I'd love to see how Anthony Davis does this year.
Mhm. Yeah, and same could be said for Jimmy Butler, who just went to Ethan. I mean, I think that's great value. I think Kyle
Mm-hmm.
Lowry is going to help Butler in a points league tremendously. I think Butler's scoring is going to improve. I love the Shea Gilgeous-Alexander pick there. Pairing him with Harden is amazing value.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I'm just looking down the draft board here. There's a lot of great names still left. One that stands out to me a few down here is Zion. How soon are you comfortable taking him, given the uncertainty with the injury? Or is he a guy that, even if he falls to 50, are you taking him at 50, or is he just, no way, I'm not taking him at all?
It's a tough one because we really don't know. I have him at 48 in my points ranking, so if he does fall to 50, I would definitely strongly consider it. Um, I don't know. I mean, he's a great talent when it comes to points leagues. We're not worried about three pointers, 3 point percent, all that stuff. But I don't know. I just don't like taking guys, with a risk in my first couple of picks. So I probably would pass on him actually.
All right. I'm
Let's see.
shocked by this pick here. Joel Ruffin is just going. He's blazing his own trail here with this draft, dude, and I'm loving it, man. I love when people don't do the cookie cutter and just
Mhm.
take whoever's next best available, man. He's taking his guys, and I think that's fantastic, dude. What do you think about that pairing there? I mean, super surprising, right?
Super surprising. I think there's a couple guys that you could definitely make the case to go ahead of Chris Middleton, but I mean
Mm-hmm.
he's an amazing fantasy contributor when when he's healthy and when he's doing his thing. So I can't hate it.
No, maybe a lower ceiling than some of these other guys, but probably one of the safest floors in fantasy basketball. He's a guy that
Hmm.
you know what you're getting every single year from Chris Middleton, man.
Definitely. I am up on the clock here. This is interesting. There's two guys I'm choosing between here. Nikola Nikola Vucevic here, great. Obviously, one of the most underrated fantasy guys in honestly fantasy basketball history. To be honest with
No.
you, we talked about that all the time. But Domantas Sabonis is catching my attention here. Somebody that was super underrated last year in drafts and ended up having a top 15 finish in points leagues in points per game. Um, I think I'm just going to go ahead. I think I'm going to go ahead and take Nikola Vucevic here. I think pairing him with Zach LaVine and the Bulls and also adding in DeMar DeRozan, I think he's probably not going to score as much as he did in Chicago, but I think he's going to get a bunch of rebounds and he's going to be a part of their main weapons on offense. So I like pairing him with Luka. Get somebody a Luka that's going to have so much usage, and then someone like Vucevic who's going to be a nightly double double.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm loving it, man. So Sabonis, as you mentioned, goes off the board next, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, would have been great to see him go right there. I think Vucevic or Sabonis. I love Sabonis just because he's a passing big, and
Mm-hmm.
to me, man, that's a fantasy cheat code, dude. A guy that can get you a triple double from the power forward or center position. Of course, that's why Nikola Jokic is always so highly valued in fantasy drafts, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true. And one thing we don't talk about Nikola Vucevic is his health too.
Mm-hmm.
He's always available, especially in this setting where it's a game pick. I mean, Sabonis is definitely not injury prone by any means, but he's missed definitely some significant amounts of time in the past couple of seasons. So if it comes down to just picking apples and oranges, I'm definitely taking Vucevic on that one.
All right, so yeah, I was wondering when LaMelo Ball was going to come off the board, and I'm surprised he didn't go in the second round. But I love, love, love the 1-2 pick right there from Larson. Man,
Yeah,
he's filled up his bigs. He's got LaMelo Ball. Love it. And De'Aaron Fox comes next. What do you think about him?
love De'Aaron Fox in a point.
Looks like we are having some technical difficulties with Alex here, so I'm going to just pick up what he was saying. De'Aaron Fox is still ascending, one of the best seasons of his career last year. He's a guy that's going to give you, he can go for 30 and 10 on a given night. And
Mm-hmm.
since this is not a categories league, there you are, you're back, man. Since this is not a
Hey.
categories league, yeah, we're not concerned about the shooting percentages, which are subpar for a guard. We're not concerned about, well, of course, we're concerned about the turnovers, but we're not super concerned about that. We're not super concerned, about some of the other deficiencies in his game. So we're looking at raw
Mm-hmm.
stats here, and he's gonna load them up, man.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you were gonna say, or did I miss something?
100%. You said it very well. With my pick here, I'm going to do something. I'm looking at my rankings here, and I'm going to stick to my rankings. This is a guy that I love in all formats this season. I think he's going to have a big year. I'm taking Fred VanVleet with my third pick.
Do it, dude. That is a great value there in the early third round. I love it. He is going to, I mean, shoot, dude. No Kyle Lowry, so he's going to be the primary facilitator on this team. Uh, you're missing Pascal Siakam to start the season. You're missing Chris Boucher. I mean, Van Vliet is probably going to be the team's leading scorer. He's going to lead the team
Mm-hmm.
in assists, and yeah, he can just do a bit of everything, man. I love that selection.
Of course. Would it even surprise you to see him flirt with 25 points a game this season?
No, not at all. I think they have some very capable scorers, man. I think OG Anunoby is going to be very good. I don't know that he's going to get you 25 a game, but Van Vliet is probably going to be. I think he. Do you think he outscores Pascal Siakam on a points per game basis this year?
I do. I do. I think Pascal's still going to be great. He's actually a value in drafts right now. He's not going to miss that much time. I think he's going to be just around his average the last couple of seasons, 22 points a game, 7-8 rebounds a game, the same old Pascal. But definitely loving VanVleet right here. While we're talking about the Raptors, though, got to talk about Scotty Barnes. Dude, really impressed in the preseason.
Yeah, he looked amazing, man. And so, in a points league, where are you comfortable taking him? Because, obviously in a categories league, his defense, his assists, he makes his bread and butter on, the hard nosed defense, getting teammates involved, high basketball IQ. Do those kind of, does that kind of play translate well for a points league? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
where are you thinking about taking him in a format like this?
I don't know. I mean, he's more of just a fun pick right now.
Oh, sure.
Not early by any means right now. I think he's outside my top 100. Definitely in category leagues. He did shoot, some poor percentages, poor from the free throw line, so he's going to bring it down here. But in a points league, he's going to flirt with top 100 numbers, I believe. I think it'll be interesting when Pascal Siakam and Chris Boucher and everybody's back in the mix. But definitely impressed in the preseason. I mean, he really surprised me.
Absolutely. So we have a flurry here. DeAndre Ayton, who did not get extended. It's my pick, so we can get back to him in a minute. I don't want to hold anybody up. I am really, really super high on somebody right now, and I'm hoping he comes back. Oh, man, there's a couple of really good names on here, but given Zion's injury history right now, and given the fact that we have no clear timetable for his return, I'm going to smash the button here for Brandon Ingram. I think he's going to have a massive season, and if you're watching this, that is his player card that I did not mean to click. So I'm going to go ahead and add him now.
There we go. I like it. So you're starting off here with I don't want to say, I mean, Brandon Ingram's not a guard. You could make the case that Paul George is a shooting guard, but you're starting off with three, let's just say, wing players here, just kind of skipping over the big men, right? No Kristaps, who's available. I see here Jaylen Brown has 4 positions that he's eligible for this season on Sleeper, which is crazy. So yeah, just you're starting with some wing players, huh?
Yeah, for me, I'm taking best available right now. I filled up I filled up small forward and forward, so I'm gonna have to go somewhere different here for my next pick. It's a little bit different when you don't have the flex spot, so
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna definitely play a role in my strategy here. But I'm really hoping the guy that I like, who's a big, is gonna come back to me here with my next pick. Let's see.
Mm-hmm. I will say, Russell Westbrook going here. I mean, I'm down on him a lot this season. In points leagues, he's pretty good. I mean, when you really don't count, the efficiency or what he shoots from the field and just inefficient and all that stuff, he's kind of a good value in the third round. I mean, I know pairing him next to LeBron James and Anthony Davis is really, he's not going to put up the same numbers he did last season in Washington, but I don't think I mind Westbrook going at the end of the third here.
I don't mind that at all, dude. A guy that can get you a triple double every single night. Obviously, we're not sure how the rotation's going to work in, for the Lakers. I mean, we know how the rotation's going to work with the big three, but we don't know what the minutes are going to look like. We don't know, as far as Westbrook and LeBron, who's going to be handling the ball more, where the shots are going to be, the assists, the rebounds. But I think the value there is just tremendous. I love that pick.
Yeah, good pick. And Randle going after Westbrook here. What do you think about Julius Randle? I know adding Kemba Walker to the mix there in New York, alongside Derrick Rose, who they coexisted very well last season. But what do you think about him this season, Julius Randle this season?
Same thing that I've been chirping about for the last month or so is I don't think we're going to get what we got from him last season. Most improved player last year. He led the league in minutes played, and he looked exhausted in the playoffs. His efficiency just went in the pooper. Obviously New York got, I think it was 5 games, right, to the Hawks, and he just did not look good in the playoffs. So I think bringing in Kemba, I think bringing in Fournier, Mitchell Robinson's going to be healthy. I don't think, that Julius Randle is going to get any of the same type of usage that he had a year ago. Obviously, Tibbs loves to run his veterans into the dirt, but I see the Knicks protecting that investment, when they gave him that huge contract extension in the offseason and try to limit his workload a little bit. What do you think?
I agree. Julius Randle, shout out to Adam Koffler, who has been in some fantasy leagues with us in the past. He called the Julius Randle over Zion Williamson last preseason coming into the season. That was an awesome call. I don't think it'll be the same usage this year. I agree with everything you said about him.
So Zion goes off the board next, followed by Kristaps, and I'm fine with Zion there. Obviously, if you want to take the risk, maybe you want to lose a few games to start the season. If you have him on IL, not a problem. I'm going with Triple J right here, dude.
Oh, woo! I love it.
I'm getting my first center, and I am going with a guy that I think is going to have a breakout season. Obviously, we're worried about his availability. He's never been, totally healthy to start his career, but this is a dude that can just rack up points and rebounds and blocks in bunches. So I'm taking the risk here. I think he's going to have a massive season.
I agree. And unlike DeAndre Ayton, he got extended, right? He got his rookie max extension.
He did. Good for him getting the bag, dude, and he deserves it. I mean, based on potential alone, I think that was great for him. And Anthony Edwards obviously was never going to come back to me in the next round, and he goes next, dude. Do you think he takes the next step forward as a scorer, or do you think he kind of plateaus, maybe hits that sophomore slump with Minnesota getting healthier this year?
I don't think he has a sophomore slump. I still think he puts up points. I was watching a YouTube highlight mix of just dunks from last season, and the one that I think it was U2 Watanabe from the Toronto Raptors. Unreal. I mean, like, if you watch that again, it blew my mind. He's unreal in points leagues. He's going to rack up a lot of points. I think it's going to be good. I really think the Timberwolves are kind of phasing out D'Angelo Russell. I mean, he's going to play heavy minutes for him. I think they want to trade him. That's a name that I think could be traded by the deadline, but it will be interesting to see how Malik Beasley and Anthony Edwards can coexist this season. That's what I'm watching for, at least.
Yeah, I think it'll be very interesting to see how that rotation plays out in Minnesota. Obviously, they are a loaded team, but they never win. And Jaylen Brown, man, that's one of my favorite values so far right here, man. I think he fell way too far in the position eligibility, as you mentioned. He can be thrown into 4 different spots. That's huge, right? I mean, what do you think about him?
I'm actually upset. I was hoping that he would fall to me with my next pick here, and I'm not surprised. He was the number one, available player for a reason for quite a few picks. So that just destroyed my strategy for what my next pick is going to be. But I'm looking here. It's tough. There's a couple guys here that I really don't want. I mean, you got Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons are the next 2. I'm not touching them in the 4th round. Pascal Siakam. I have Fred VanVleet. I don't know if I'm really interested in pairing these 2 right now. Um, Let me think. Let me take a look at this really quick.
So are you looking for best available, or are you looking to, you have two point guards and a big, are you looking to fill some
Mm-hmm.
forward spots? Are you conscious of that? Or are you just going for, I'm taking the next best guy available that's not a center?
Right now, typically the first 5 rounds in fantasy basketball, I definitely look for best available.
Mm-hmm.
If it works out to the point where I can fill up my roster needs, then great. But I mean, you could easily fill that out as you go through the draft. There's so much value, and we talked earlier that 12-team league with only 12 positions. There's going to be a ton of value on waivers, so I'm not really worried about that. But with this pick here, I don't want to touch any of these guys. So, man, this is legitimately one of the hardest selections that I've had to make. I'm not even joking. I'm going to do something a little off the cuff here, and I'm going to draft Malcolm Brogdon. Um, this is a guy that I really am high on. Pairing him with Fred VanVleet here, I don't want to say they're similar players, but Brogdon's just a guy who's going to get you tons of points, both from scoring points, from assists. He's an excellent free throw shooter. He's somebody that I mean, he wouldn't be my first choice if Jalen Brown was available, but I'm happy to get him here. I believe they added 2 years of a 2-year extension onto his contract, either today or yesterday too. So I'm happy with the pick.
Yeah, I love Brogdon. What I got to ask you is your strategy here. You have 3 point guards on your roster.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you can only play two of them.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about taking a guy in the fourth that's probably he's going to be on your bench and maybe create some tough start sit decisions for you every week? What do you think about that?
So that's a great point. The only reason why I took Brogdon there is he did have shooting guard, point guard eligibility that I saw.
Oh, there you
Um,
go.
yes. So my plan is I can't do it now, but my plan is to put him in as my shooting guard. Once the draft finalizes. But yeah, that would have made no sense. Like to take Ben Simmons, at that point, if he was playing, it would have made any sense because then you're pulling your hair out trying to decide who to start every
Yeah.
week.
Yep. Great. I didn't notice that Brogdon had shooting guard eligibility, so definitely something to
Mm-hmm.
keep in mind when you're drafting is positional eligibility because, kind of unique here
Mm-hmm.
on sleeper. Pascal Siakam, you can plug him in at both forward spots or center, so kind of a very valuable guy right there.
100%. And it's interesting too. I mean, Ben Simmons has just point guard eligibility. I know he's like 6'10 and he only does play
Hmm.
point, but that's very interesting. Pascal Siakam has small forward, power forward, and center.
So we are making our way to the fifth round. We are a third of our way through our 12-man draft. And any teams in particular stand out to you as really good, or any teams that stand out to you as really terrible?
Yes. I love, I want to say it's Isaiah's team. He's Ratbird. Love his team so far. I was just thinking about that. It's my favorite one out of, looks a lot better than mine, I'll tell you that. Uh, Coming here, it's back to me. I need a power forward. I need a small forward, shooting guard. Those are kind of some positions that I don't have. Um, Looking at the landscape, I mean, man, this is just I don't like this area of the draft um, in points leagues.
So this
Man.
is something that I think about in drafts all the time because obviously your first two and maybe your first three picks are you're probably not going to go wrong, right?
No.
Everybody's a stud at that point unless you just make some crazy off the wall decision, which nobody in this draft did. Everybody took, guys where they were within the realm of taking. But when you start to get into the fifth, sixth, seventh round, is it okay to start reaching a round or two, or are you still trying to build that core and be a little bit safer, and just so you can take some bigger risks later in the draft? Take me through that strategy.
Yeah. So I believe we touched on it a second ago, but my first 5 rounds, I'm taking best available.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't like the way this draft has fallen to me so far. So um, it's making it a little bit more difficult than it usually is for that. But typically, first 5 rounds, and then after that, it's so easy to fill out your rosters with positional needs. So I'm not really looking to do that quite yet. Um, but here, I think I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna go ahead and take Pascal Siakam, fill him in like we just talked about, small forward, power forward, or center eligibility. I have Fred VanVleet, but both of them are going to be solid in points leagues this season. Um, And I think the fifth round is way too high for Pascal Siakam, or too low, excuse me. I think he's going to miss a couple of weeks, and that's it. And then he's coming back, and I mean, he's definitely top 3, top 4 value when he's healthy. So um, I'm happy to get him in the fifth round.
What do you think about the Raptors this year, man? I think they're probably going to surprise a lot of people. I mean, they had a down year last year, but they're usually one of those teams that just kind of comes out of nowhere. People always, think they're going to underperform, and they just really they show off and surprise a ton of people. Do you feel that way, or do you think they're going to be out of the playoffs again?
I do. I do think they're going to be competitive. I don't think anybody's really talking about what it's like to play a season not where your home is, right? They were playing in Tampa all last season, away from their families for the most part. That's tough to do. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people talk about that enough when, discussing their failure last season, or, lack thereof of the success. But I think they're going to be competitive. I think they have enough talent to get to a play-in game. But with the East so stacked this year, I don't think they're going to be a shoe in to make the playoffs. But they'll be a team I don't want to face.
Absolutely, man. So Kyle Lowry, the former Raptor, goes next, and he plays for your Miami Heat.
Love
What
it.
are your expectations for Kyle Lowry this year from a fantasy and a real life perspective?
Ooh, I love it in real life. Love the fit. I don't like it for fantasy. I don't think he's going to be as valuable as he's been the last couple of seasons. Fifth round, I'm okay taking him there. It just makes me feel a lot better about my Siakam pick in the fifth round. I'll tell you that.
Mm,
But yeah, I don't mind taking him in the fifth. I mean, I prefer not to, but I think he's going to 13, 14, 15 points a game, tons of assists. He's always going to get you steals. That's kind of what I think you can look forward to from him this season.
absolutely, man. And Terry Rozier comes up next. No problem with that. I think he's probably going to be a high scorer once again.
Scary Terry.
Yeah, gotta love him right there. And I am one, two, three. Ooh, Lonzo Ball next.
There we
Are you
go.
okay with Lonzo there? He's kind of a polarizing player this season.
Yeah, I don't love it. I mean, we for the same reason we don't like DeMar DeRozan, right? You're playing against Zach. You're playing alongside Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic. Lonzo Ball is not as polished of an offensive player as DeMar DeRozan is. So, man, I mean, he's going to be the fourth option on that offense. And then when Kobe White comes back, Kobe White is just a scorer. So it's going to be interesting to see what value Lonzo Ball has. But again, fifth round. I mean, I'm okay with it there.
I am going to go ahead and reach, and I'll go ahead and make my pick. Any idea who I'm going to pick right here if you had to take a guess?
Oh, I love this. Let me see. Um, it's probably going to be one of the Rockets. One of the
Yeah,
Rockets
just
young guys.
I think you might be right. And I think
Jalen
I'm going to
Green.
go I'm going to go ahead and
Oh man.
I'm taking my reach, dude. This is a guy, obviously, you know very well that I have a huge man crush on, especially for fantasy hoops. And I think a guy that could give me, he went for what, 50 and 11 last year at the end of the year against the Bucks. So a
Insane.
guy that can average 20 and 10 with assists. I'm not sure he gets to those numbers every night, but just the
Mhm.
upside in a head-to-head league, especially in the right matchup with the game pick format. I think I can pick my spot there when he's playing against, fast-paced teams and just set and forget, dude. So I went ahead
Mhm.
and took the reach. Probably would have come back to me. Maybe would have come back to me in the seventh round, but I didn't want to wait. I'm getting my
Mhm.
guy.
So I'll ask you the question, right? Because we're in the end of the fifth round here. So at this point, you're okay reaching for your guy.
I'm okay with it, just because, and I think it's different. I think obviously you need to know the league that you're in, and I think when you play in a league with, for example, a bunch of guys that write about fantasy,
Mhm.
obviously you kind of know some of the buzz names that are going around, and some of the guys that are getting picked a little bit higher maybe than. When you're playing in drafts with just guys that don't write about it and things like that. Kevin Porter to me is a guy that I felt like maybe wasn't going to come back to me. But other guys that I think have been really popular, Triple J, I took him maybe a little bit early. I think Josh Giddey is rocketing up draft boards. Yeah, I know, but I I think it just depends on who you're playing with, know your league, know who's going to be reached for, know who's going to be available when you come back. Giddy I did a points league draft with a bunch of my high school buddies earlier this evening, actually, right before I came over here, and Josh Giddy got sniped in the 80s from me. So he's not just a name that. Yeah, he's not just a name that people in the fantasy space are excited about. He's a name that everybody is excited about. So, uh, I think it's just knowing where certain guys are going to go, and I'm fine reaching for Kevin Porter. I love the upside.
And you need to get, I mean, we've given you a ton of props on Twitter for that, but that was one of the most impressive calls I've seen in fantasy basketball. I mean, Kevin Porter was like, wasn't he practicing with the G League or something before they called him up, and you called him, some guy to keep your eye on. You'd add him right now. He's going to be a league winner this season. And to your point, 50-point game, 11 assists. I picked him up. I took your advice. I won my league because of him. So just a fantastic rise last season, man. That was a great call.
Yep. You love to see it, man. And I think, especially for fantasy hoops, I was talking with my wife about this earlier because she plays fantasy hoops with us too. She does fantasy football, which is awesome. I love her being involved with that.
Awesome.
Yeah. And she was in this points league draft that we were doing earlier. And I was telling her, like, I'm okay reaching a little bit just because I like to root for my guys. Like, I don't want to I'm okay taking a boring team and winning, but I'm also okay reaching a little bit and kind of taking a shot on some of these guys because it's a lot more fun to root for the guys that you like. You know what I mean? Like,
100%.
we're not playing for money here. We're playing for pride. And, I've seen this in drafts over and over and over. You can do all the studying you want, but a guy just needs to hit right towards the middle or end of your draft, and you're winning that thing. So I'm picking guys that I like and that I'm rooting for, and that's part of the fun of fantasy, man. I think that's something that people don't talk about enough is, enjoying what you're doing. Have fun with it. Pick a Kevin Porter because you love him, or pick Kyle Lowry because he plays for the Heat and you're a diehard fan. Stuff like that I don't think gets talked about enough. So, that's kind of why I went with him there.
Definitely. And I can't believe, and just looking at the available players right now and kind of my team makeup, I'm not going to take this guy just because it would mess with my lineup decisions with the game picks. I already have a center, but I took Nikola Vucevic in, I think it was my second pick. Mm-hmm. Had I known Jonas Valanciunas would still be here in the 6th round, nobody's talking about this dude. I mean, all he does is produce fantasy value. And talking about Zion Williamson being out for, who knows how long, Jonas Valanciunas, there's some value there to get him in the 6th round. I mean, if I didn't take Vucevic, I'd be looking his way coming up here, but that's interesting.
Yeah, and so I'm not sure if you can see me on the live stream here, but this goes back to the positional eligibility. I just took a look at Jaren Jackson to make sure he had power forward eligibility because I'm going to slide him there and put JV at center because I totally 100% agree with you, man.
Yeah.
Especially if Zion is going to miss some extended time, which he very well might. Brandon Ingram and Valanciunas are going to be two guys that are going to get a major boost in value, so totally fine grabbing him. And I think the drop-off in centers is pretty much here. You have your top tier, and then it really kind of goes into the tank this season, whereas guards and wings and even forwards are a bit deeper. So I think center is a position that you need to get at least one elite guy on your team.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I mean, and that's the thing, right? And that's all back to knowing what your league scoring is, what the format is. If it's 9-cat, there's still a bunch of value on the board center-wise, right? You have your Mitchell Robinsons, you have your Nerlens Noel. I know you're a fan of him, even though he is dealing with an injury right now.
Yeah.
Evan Mobley, Mo Bamba, those are guys that are still on the board center-wise. That's valuable in a category format league, but with points leagues, you're right, man. I mean, the next one, I don't want Jared Allen in a points league. I don't want Montrezl Harrell. I shouldn't be saying that because I want someone else to draft him, but yeah, you're right.
Let's talk about Jared Allen because him and Evan Mobley are kind of the pairing that I think you and I agree on, and something that when we're talking about a points league, I was talking with my brother-in-law about this earlier today, and no, I'm not making this up. These are real conversations that I've had with other people that play fantasy hoops, and he was debating taking Jared Allen. or Kristaps Porzingis, and he ended up taking Porzingis and then getting Evan Mobley, a few rounds later, and
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, getting a bunch of value. I would much rather have Evan Mobley later in my draft than taking Jared Allen in the 5th or 6th round, which is where a lot of people are valuing him. I just don't see him returning value at that spot.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I moved Jared Allen way down in my rankings. Um, I just think Evan Mobley is going to cap his upside
Mm-hmm.
this season. And Evan Mobley's great. He can step back. He can hit three when he's open. This is a guy, just really quick, because I just saw him and I'm incredibly excited that he's available right here. I can't even believe it. I'm going to push the draft button so hard right here. This is a guy that uh, he's easily, I'd say, a top 50 guy for me in category formats, and he's right around there in points leagues. I need a shooting guard, none other than Mr. Derek White, San Antonio Spurs. Uh, we've talked at length, on Twitter about this, but the Spurs, DeMar DeRozan's no longer in the picture. LaMarcus Aldridge no longer in the picture. This is Dejounte Murray and Derek White's team right now. So I expect him to score a lot of points, see a ton of usage, play a lot of minutes for Greg Popovich. So thrilled to get him here. I was actually looking at Buddy Hield and RJ Barrett with my next pick, but very happy to get Derek White right here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think a breakout could be coming for him if he manages to stay healthy. He's another one of those guys that's been kind of a what if so far in his career. So, would love to see him put it together this season.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So moving up the draft board here, I see a couple names that are ranked a bit too high for me. Andre Drummond, there's no way that I am taking him inside the top 100. I don't care how many rebounds he gets or maybe how many blocks or steals he can get. He's playing behind Joel Embiid. But, of course, maybe with the game pick, maybe that's something that sways my opinion. I don't know. With Joel Embiid missing time, maybe you can plug in Andre Drummond wherever you like. I
Mm-hmm.
think that boosts his value a little bit, but all the way up to the to this 48 is what his ADP is on here. Where would you feel comfortable taking him here?
I'm not touching that guy at
Yeah.
all this season. He's ranked way too high in most leagues that they just put too much value on him. He was great for fantasy, 3-4 years ago, even 2 years ago. He was solid. I'm not touching him. You make a great point about Joel Embiid and the availability aspect, but there's just so much. But I'd actually rather have Jared Allen than take Andre Drummond. I'd rather wait and get Evan Mobley. I'd rather get Mo Bamba, someone like that, than draft Andre Drummond.
Absolutely, man.
Ooh,
So
that's an interesting one. Tyrese Halliburton.
interesting how you think that's a reach. You love him there?
I love him there. Davion Mitchell, the rookie, I mean, he's going to steal some playing time for sure. I mean, you have Buddy Hield and obviously De'Aaron Fox, but I like the pick. I think he was so efficient last season. He was so mature. His gameplay was so mature. It was just efficient. He didn't turn the ball over. He just made something happen every time he touched it. So I like the pick there. End of the 6th round. I can't fault that at all.
And right after that, a guy that plays for your Miami Heat and a guy that has been getting just so much love from Spo and so much love from the media and fans. He's been tearing up the preseason. Is this a mirage? Is this just preseason hype? Or is the bounce back real? Is he just going to erupt this year? And Aaron Larson just got an amazing value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Aaron Larson got an amazing value. I think Tyler Hero can lead the Miami Heat in scoring this season. That's not hyperbole. You saw how he did in the preseason. I think he led the preseason in scoring with like 25 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
Can't take too much out of the preseason. Guys don't play a ton, and he was playing a lot of games when Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, and others were sitting out. So, but I think he's great for points leagues. He's going to get a lot of shots. He's going to come off the bench this season. I think that's great. Would not be surprised to see him win 6th man of the year on the backs of something like 20 points, 23 points per game this season. He's also a very underrated rebounder in his career so far.
Absolutely, man. So let's move on to the next pick. This is the first of, and Dan, please don't come for my head here, but I don't like the pick at all, man. This is the first of a couple of guys that I think are way more valuable in a categories league. The other one that comes to mind is Mikal Bridges, but a guy that I'm not interested in a points league just
Mhm.
because Covington does a tiny bit of everything that helps you out in your categories league, but the upside in a points league is he doesn't score a lot. He does kind of the defensive dirty work and hits some threes, and the prototypical 3-and-D guy that you love, but not a guy that's going to really fill up the box score for a points league. Do you agree with that, or do you like the pick?
Don't like the pick. People are so quick to forget. Covington was like droppable at during various points of last season in fantasy. I remember. I dropped him. People in my
Oh,
league dropped him. He was
Burns,
so
this is your
disappointed.
pick right here.
Oh boy, did not know that. I'm over here talking about what's his name. Oh, I don't know who I'm getting. They're gonna auto pick me. Oh boy, don't give me. Well, there we go. Gordon Hayward. I can't be mad at that one. Um, but
So
but yes,
yeah, this is where it was good that you filled up your guard spots, because I think you would have been stuck with Kyrie Irving right there had you been, had a vacant guard spot. So
mm,
Gordon Hayward, man, if he's healthy, that's a great pick, dude. He's
yeah,
awesome.
don't mind it at all. Yeah, he'll get you 18, 19 points a game. Availability is something to worry about, obviously,
Hmm.
but I can't be mad at that. And I was going to say, too, there's so much value left on the board right now. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I'm just looking through here. I mean, it's crazy in a points league how much value is sitting here.
Yep.
Um, so I'm not worried about that. I mean, help fill up my roster, and he's a good player. So
Absolutely, man. That's if there's going to be an auto pick right there, you got saddled with one of the best. Can't be mad about that at all.
I'm just glad it's not Andre Drummond or Kyrie Irving, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's see who in your mind is the next best available player here.
Um, oh man, I don't want to tip anybody, tip my stuff out to anybody. There's a ton of value, and to be honest, you got to scroll.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys that are here that Sleeper is putting up, you got Kyrie Irving, Andre Drummond. We already talked about him, but a lot of these guys are just valuable in like a categories league, and this is points. So I'm not really interested in that. First name that comes to mind, I'll say is where is it? Norman Powell with Portland, going to get a ton of shots this season. Flirt with 20 points a game. I would say about maybe 4 rebounds, probably 1, 2 assists. I think he can be a solid contributor. Someone to put on your bench. Of course, I'll take that. But there's somebody that I do want to ask you about. We kind of had like a conversation about this guy on Twitter, but Jalen Suggs, the rookie,
Hmm.
was highly picked, high expectations, really underwhelmed. Actually, the opposite of Josh Giddey in the preseason. Just shot the ball poorly, turned it over. What do you expect from him this season?
I think the preseason has definitely kind of dimmed his luster a bit, just because he hasn't had such a great preseason. But he's a guy that I think expectations are sky high for still. He's playing for the rebuilding Magic. He's a guy that is hyper athletic. We saw what he could do at Gonzaga as a scorer, as a rebounder. A guy that can get teammates involved. So absolutely love what he can do. I think he's going to fall way too far in drafts just because of the preseason. I don't think preseason necessarily matters quite as much as we make of it. It's definitely something, but I think Suggs, if you can get him outside the top, 100, great value.
Ooh, Aaron Gordon. Gormer, we're going to talk about this one for a second. Aaron Gordon in the 7th round. Wow.
Ooh, so we have a couple of really we have a few picks right here in a row that actually this whole 7th round I don't know, man. About half of these picks I am really not liking at all. I think the bogey pick from Joe Ruffin was a great value, but yeah, well, hold on. Let's speak to this here in a second. I'm going to just go ahead and take another reach here. I'm not sure where he's going to go, but I'm going to go ahead and grab my guy. He's ranked 132 here, but he's going to put up top 100 numbers for sure. And I'm reaching for him now so I don't miss out
Oh
on him.
no!
Another opportunity to get my guy.
Oh my!
Grabbing him. Let's do it. He's a guy that I was very low on a few weeks ago, but just seeing how he's performed, I think the preseason has just skyrocketed his value, and I'm all over it, man. I'm
Yeah,
grabbing him here.
I like it. Get your guy.
Let's do it. And he goes to the bench for me, too. I'm going to have to throw him in at point guard. I got to be cognizant here of where my guys are going.
Let me ask you. This is going back a couple of picks to Isaiah, but he took Darius Garland.
Mm-hmm.
This might be a hot take, and for people that watch the NBA or maybe new to fantasy basketball, this might be a crazy take. But really, what's the difference between Darius Garland and John Morant? John Morant.
I don't know. I think the skill set is very similar. You got guys that are going to score a lot of points, and obviously Garland is on the rise as far as assists go. He really bumped that total up last season. Obviously he's not a Colin Sexton where he does almost nothing but score. So I think Garland he has that very similar skill set. Do you like Garland a little bit better based on the value of where you're getting him in drafts this year? Because I certainly do compared to a John Morant.
I do. Garland was a huge surprise. I know he was ranked outside the top 100 last season coming into drafts, and he finished great in a points league. Obviously, John Morant is the better talent. He's more electrifying. He's fun to watch. I would say he's the better player. I'd definitely take him in real life over Darius Garland. But for fantasy purposes, why not wait 4 or 5 rounds and select him in the end of the 7th, beginning of the 8th?
Absolutely, man. So right here, I have a couple of picks that a couple of guys that I'm looking at, I should say. I need to fill my power forward spot. I'm running out of options there. So I am looking at 2 guys that I think we both like, and I'm having a tough decision here. I have Evan Mobley and Robert Williams. I think Time Lord is a great value here, but I do still wonder if he's going to put it all together with injuries and with playing time with Horford there, with Cantor back. I just wonder, is his role maybe not as secure as we think it is compared to an Evan Mobley, whose role I think is extremely secure and has had a great preseason. So I think maybe I will just go ahead and let the young guy parade commence and just go ahead and grab my second rookie in a row and snag Evan Mobley. And I know that probably breaks your heart because maybe you were looking at him next. I know you love him.
Zach, you ripped my heart out more than once on this live. I love the pick. I love the fact that your last 2 you've got your guys right. 2 rookies, Josh Giddey and Evan Mobley. I can't say anything about it.
So maybe a little bit of a reach, but hey, we're here in the 8th round, and like I mentioned, this is a bunch of sharp minds in this draft. I don't know if guys are going to come back to me, and I think that always plays a role in your draft. So let's go back to this horrendous 7th round. We have 3 picks in a row that just I don't know what's going on, man. I know Bojan Bogdanovic he does nothing but score, so I think that's fine. But Aaron Gordon, Kelly Oubre, these are guys that are playing on just ridiculously crowded teams, dude. What are you expecting from them? Worth a 7th round pick? I wouldn't have touched them there at all. They're guys I don't want on my team, period.
Yeah, I agree. People gave the Nuggets a hard time for paying Aaron Gordon. I think it was $90 million extension in the offseason. That didn't make any sense. Real life, sure, he's an okay defender and is athletic, but fantasy purposes, no bueno. I'm not touching him since he joined the Nuggets. And Kelly Oubre, same thing. Remember how bad he started last season? He put it together, fixed it a little bit, but that was a rough start last season. He joins, the wings with Gordon Hayward. You have Terry Rozier. You have LaMelo Ball. I can't touch those guys in the 8th round, not in fantasy.
Yep, agreed. Interesting name here. I think for a points league, this is great here. Tim Hardaway Jr. I know we kind of had a lot of heated discussion amongst me and you and Adam Koffler, Dan Titus, guys that we were podding with last year. About a Tim Hardaway Jr. and all he does is score. He's one dimensional. That's perfect for a points league, right? We don't care about the categories. We don't care about the efficiency or the peripherals. The dude is shooting. He
Yeah.
has the green light to just launch it, right? I mean, this is a guy that's totally fine to take in the 8th round. Or is this a reach for you?
I don't mind it for sure. I mean, Josh Richardson's no longer there; he's in Boston, so it's going to open up some more playing time for him. I think he earned the bag this offseason. He played spectacular down the stretch for Dallas, but really, what's the difference between a Bogdanovich that went around earlier than Tim Hardaway Jr.? I mean, is there really that much of a difference? They both shoot threes and don't really do a ton else. Um, like Harrison Barnes just went. I would much rather have a Harrison Barnes in this spot in the draft than either of those two.
You like Harrison Barnes over Tim Hardaway, really?
I do. I do. I think there's just something about the Kings. They're just going to be one of the worst teams in the league. They're going to be fun to watch on League Pass. They're going to play at a high pace, fast pace. And Harrison Barnes was a top 100 guy last season. Shoots the ball well. I know that's not super important for points leagues, but he can get you 15 points, 7 rebounds a game, provide some value. I like him over both of the guys we just talked about for sure.
Alex, I hate to interrupt you, man, but it looks like you picked already. Can you take a look at your settings? It looks like maybe you have auto pick on. Can you take a
Oh
look and make
boy.
sure that
Oh man, that is just gross. Oh, they gave me Montrezl Harrell. That is disgusting. I do have
uh,
auto pick on. I don't know how to turn it off. Let me see.
yeah,
Let me see.
that was a good catch from Isaiah. He messaged me and said, I think Burns has, oh, shoot, and there it goes
Let me
again.
again. I don't know how to turn this off.
Uh,
This is not fun. I will say I think your strategy is pretty good there, getting me talking about all these guys and letting me go on auto pick. I know exactly what you're doing. I got to figure out how to get off auto pick real quick.
You caught me, brother. Yeah, go ahead and work on that. And I don't think you got a bad pick there in the 9th round,
I turned
Mitchell
it on.
Robinson.
I like it. I'll take him in the 9th round. I'd prefer him in category leagues, maybe in this spot, but he's going to get a ton of blocks, ton of rebounds. And we mentioned earlier that Nerlens Noel is now dealing with an injury. I know Nerlens Noel was your guy, somebody that you really liked. Does that change anything? Obviously, now that he's hurt, I mean, are you more leaning to a Mitchell Robinson kind of selection?
I don't know. I don't think I like Robinson just based on where you have to take him in most formats. I think here is fine in the 9th round. Give him
Mm-hmm.
to me. That's totally fine. For Noel, he's a guy that I was targeting inside my top 100. With the injury, I probably drop him about 20 or so spots. So if I can get him a little bit later, still a guy that I like to have on my team just because of the efficiency and the ridiculous value you're going to get from the defensive stats. So but yeah, definitely gets a drop there. I don't know that I necessarily want to have any part of New York's front court just based on where you have to take them and based on
Mm-hmm.
injuries right now.
I agree. And this is a guy. Looking at who just went by Joel. That's a really interesting pick. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I like that. Nickeil
Totally.
Alexander Walker. I mean, he had. I mean, people forget. Obviously, the Pelicans had a lot of guys in and out of the lineup last season, but there was a game. I think it was versus the Clippers. I could be wrong. I'm not sure, but it was on ESPN. It was prime time. I think he scored 38 points or something. It was career high. It was maybe 30, low 30s or something. But he was really impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually think he should start. I think the Pelicans are going to start Garrett Temple this season. It makes more sense for defensive purposes, but I love Alexander Walker. That's a great pick.
And coming up next is a guy that we mentioned already and a guy that I know you and I are both high on, Scotty Barnes. Are you okay with him there in the 9th?
I think I am. If I'm going to be okay with you taking Josh Giddey and Evan Mobley here, I think Scotty Barnes, for what he showed in the preseason and with Boucher and Siakam out for a very small amount of time, I think the Raptors are going to play him a lot. And the way he impressed, I'm okay taking a chance on the upside here.
So let's do a little rookie talk then. So
Mm-hmm.
we mentioned Scotty Barnes, Evan Mobley, Josh Giddey. These are your big names. So I clicked on the rookie only option here on my draft board and just to see who's still available. A few names that I really like here. Which rookies stand out to you other than just the big names? So there's Kuminga, there's Trey Murphy, Chris Duarte, Franz Wagner, Corey Kispert, Zaire Williams. Any of these guys really stand out to you as somebody that's going to make a difference for your fantasy team this year?
Chris Duarte, yes. In a points league, I think he's great for the Indiana. I don't trust Jeremy Lamb to stay healthy. Karis LeVert's already battling injuries. He might even be traded. I mean, who knows at this point? I think he can provide some nice scoring off the bench there. But there's one guy you didn't name who I'm looking at, and I don't know if I want to even mention his name. I don't know if I want to say it because someone's going to think about it. But Alperen Sengun for the Rockets, not somebody I'd consider yet in drafts, but he's a talented individual. I don't know if you were able to check out any of his games in the preseason. He's very interesting to watch.
Yeah, and I really unfortunate that you mentioned him because I purposely excluded him because he's the guy.
No way.
I'm taking him next, dude. I in my points league earlier, I took him inside the top 100. He's going to be starting for Houston sooner than later. If it's not right away, it's going to be very soon, dude. He's going to be a double-double machine with blocks to spare and getting him this late in drafts. I'm just going to continue with my rookies here. If nobody's listening, then Bogman, if you're not listening, I'm going to just will this into being and take Sengun right here. And I don't know how far down the draft board he is. He is... Oh, is he not available?
Alperen Sengun? I didn't see him go. I saw him a second ago.
I cannot find him. Oh, wait, hold on. That's because I have power forward selected. There he is.
I must say, I'm very impressed with your strategy here, right? Keeping Sengun out of the rookie list just so I wouldn't think about him. Getting me talking about all these guys. Right? I've noticed you're asking me questions like as soon as it's my turn to pick. That's okay. Let's see. There's the crazy thing about this, and we've said it before, but this draft is with 12 teams and 12-man rosters. There's so much depth. Like I'm just scrolling here. I had 2 auto picks. I'm not really happy with the guys, to be honest with you. I actually had 3 auto picks. There's still guys that I was going to take ahead of them that are available right now. I'm not going to say who they are, but if I can get 2 of those guys to fall to me here, I'd be very happy about that.
Yeah, then you won't feel like the auto pick kind of took away all that value from you. So hopefully those guys do return to you.
I don't know. You probably have some more tricks up your sleeve there. Get me auto picking again.
We will see, man.
But this is an interesting question. While we're on the topic of power forward, centers, big men, what do you think about PJ Washington this season?
I like PJ Washington. We mentioned earlier that Charlotte is an extremely deep team, but Washington has that very secure role in the front court. He's probably going to remain a starter and see a bunch of minutes. And he's a guy that you love for fantasy purposes. He's that stretch 4, stretch 5 that can step out and hit a 3. He racks up those valuable defensive stats that you love. He can have some big scoring nights. He can pull down the rebounds. And he's been that type of guy since he arrived in Charlotte. So he's a guy that I love, man, and I'm very, very surprised that never mind. I didn't see that he went in the last round, but I think that's a hell of a value right there to get him, right around pick 100. Patrick Williams, don't like that pick at all. I think his game is more suited for a categories league, and a guy that I think his overall game is probably more suited to real-life basketball than fantasy basketball, but I am going to go with another guy that was a hot topic last year and that we talked about ad nauseum, Daniel Gafford.
Oh, great pick. That's a good one. I like it.
He's had a good preseason, and for as long as Thomas Bryant is out, I think he can be a lot, really, really good, especially
Mhm.
with Robin Lopez and Alex Len out of there. So, a couple of guys that have fallen way farther than they should: Miles Bridges, Devontae Graham. I love here. Um, LaMarcus Aldridge went right before Gafford. Any interest there? I'm not biting on that. I know he's
No.
projected to be the quote unquote starter for the Nets, but that's a really really deep and really old front court there. So no interest from me.
To be honest with you, I think I'd rather just like wait till my last pick and take Nick Claxton
Mm-hmm.
than to take LaMarcus Aldridge in the 10th round.
Absolutely, man. So we're waiting on Ari here, and I would love to talk about a couple guys, but I don't want to tip anybody's hat.
Oh,
Man, that's a killer right there, isn't it?
this has been the worst fantasy draft I've ever participated in my entire
Oh,
life. That was my guy. That's who I thought was going to fall to me. I was going to get him a couple picks earlier. I was going to snag my guy, but man, he's going to be good this season. But what do you think is going to happen when Klay Thompson comes back? I mean, obviously he's going to be eased into workload. They're not going to throw him out there for 30 minutes, but Jordan Poole's someone I can see getting close to 20 points a game this season.
yeah, I think, to be honest with you, man, I think when Clay eyes that return in January, I think Golden State has not won a lot of games. I think Clay Thompson's return is probably pushed back farther than we expect, and I think he probably just doesn't play at all this season.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, I can't see them being in a position to rush him back. Obviously, it's not rushing because he hasn't played in 2 years, but I really think that they would be best served just leaving him one more year and bringing him back totally healthy for next season. That's my 2 cents.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I'm on the clock here. I'm not auto picking for the first time in like 3 rounds. So I'm going to get one of my guys here. I do need to fill a forward spot. I'm going to take this guy. I love him. Isaiah Stewart with the Detroit Pistons.
Love that
Love
pick.
that. Love it in the 10th round. We were talking about our scoring settings. You get 3 points for a block, 3 points for a steal. He's going to get a ton of blocks, a ton of rebounds. I think he can get you somewhere around 10, 11, 12 points a game this season. The big question around him this season is what is Kelly Olynyk? How is he going to affect his fantasy value? I really don't think he's going to affect it that much at all, to be honest with you. Maybe you feel differently than I do.
No, I agree with you. I think Stewart is going. I mean, he obviously fits the build as for that young up and coming rebuilding team. I think Olynyk is just an excellent glue guy, solid. Depth guy. He's going to be a good mentor. He's going to be a good guy off the bench. I think Stewart gets the start and is your primary center. And absolutely, completely love your pick there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, as a Heat fan, I've watched Kelly Olynyk plenty of times. He spends a lot of his time around the 3-point land, right around the arc. So. Isaiah Stewart, there's been a couple of videos of him working on his 3-point game. He actually has a nice form. He has a nice release, and he was making some in practice. But he's going to do all the dirty work down low for them. He was impressive last season. Not worried about Kelly Olynyk. So I'm stoked to get him in the 10th round. I love that.
Totally, man. Guy that I really like was hoping came back to me. Reggie Jackson. Was that a snipe for you?
Yep, I was going to take him with my pick that I'm on the clock for right now. So that is just crazy that how many times I've been sniped in this draft. So I'm gonna take a look down here. There's still tons of value on the board. I mean, especially for a points league. I'm going to take a guy right here. This is going to be an interesting pick. You might judge me a little bit for it, but something that has to do with Reggie Jackson is actually a teammate, Marcus Morris. I believe it's the younger Morris twin by a couple of minutes. I love him this season. His numbers, just like Reggie Jackson and just like Paul George, without Kawhi Leonard, they were spectacular. He's going to hit a lot of threes. He's going to score close to 20 points a game this season just out of pure necessity. So, doesn't do a ton of stuff. Like, I don't like him in category leagues. I haven't drafted him once in those kind of formats, but here in a points league, I'll definitely take Marcus Morris.
Sure thing, man. I think there's definitely going to be some benefit on that team. Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, probably going to be your biggest ones outside of somebody like a Paul George. So no problem there. Man, Joel Ruffin, we talked about him earlier, dude. Joel. If you're listening to this, man, we salute you, brother, because you are you're going off on your own path, dude. You got Darius Bazley, you got Kevin Love. These are just some out there picks, man. And Kevin Love and Bazley obviously had a great year last year in a points league. Fantastic, dude. So I actually have no problem with that. He's a guy probably that's being undervalued just because of the efficiency and just the fact that he doesn't do a ton outside of the scoring and the rebounding. But this late in the draft, dude, no issue with that. Kevin Love, I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, I second that. Kevin Love, that dude's going to get traded any second. Especially them drafting Evan Mobley. That was just there's just not even a lot to be said on that one. I do like the next pick, though. That's intriguing. Killian Hayes. I do like that pick.
Yep, another guy that is best suited for points leagues just because of the efficiency and potentially the turnovers. So I'll quit running my mouth for a second and make my pick here. And this is a guy that I am shocked has not gone yet, but I have got to grab Tyrese Maxey.
I like it.
So let's talk Ben Simmons.
That's what I was going to ask you. Are you under the ilk of him not playing this season at all, or if he does, it's going to be somewhere else?
I don't know. Obviously, we've seen videos of him being at team workouts, not putting his hand into the huddles, standing in the back, cell phone hanging out of his pocket, totally disinterested. Looks like a guy that was not invited to the party and just showed up and is just kind of sulking in the corner. Not somebody that I think is going to be totally engaged with the team. I think he's showing up. He's pulling a Marshawn Lynch, man. He's showing up so he doesn't get fined and lose money. But otherwise, I think Tyrese Maxey has been working with the ones. Ben Simmons is going to miss a little bit of time, probably just due to conditioning, even if he ends up coming into play. And I think he's not eligible to play till Friday just because of when he reported anyway. So I think Maxey is a guy that has a ton of value this season.
Yeah, Maxey's a dog, especially with Shake Milton out for there's no timetable for return on him. So there's really going to be no competition for point guard minutes there. I'm with you on that one. I like it. I do think Wendell Carter, I know it's end of the 10th. I think Wendell Carter was a fantastic selection. They just signed him to a $50 million extension. He's making more money than Rashawn Holmes now. Love that. It's definitely Bamba over Carter for me in category leagues, but in points leagues, I don't think he can really go wrong with getting Carter in the 10th round.
No, I don't think so at all, man. And I think he's a name that has really just kind of fallen by the wayside because people are so infatuated, as they should be, with Mo Bamba. And people forget that Carter is Carter's the starter, right?
Yeah.
And I just rhymed. And so I think that's totally fine right there to take Wendell Carter. I think he's a guy that's probably going to exceed a lot of value from where you drafted him this season.
Yeah, I agree with that. And even Malik Beasley, I mean, as a guy in points leagues, you get with, the end of the 11th round here. That's somebody who he's going to come off the bench likely this season. He's going to score close to 20 points, take a ton of shots. I've kind of been off of him a little bit more than I was in years past, just with the emergence of Anthony Edwards. But at the end of the 11th round, I don't think you can go wrong with that either.
Not at all, man. So here we are in the last round, and I'm going to go on brand here for this draft and just take another rookie. What in the hell? Let's do it. Trey Murphy, man. A guy that's had a phenomenal preseason. He can certainly work his way into the rotation, for the Pelicans, especially with the turnover they've had in the backcourt and Zion's injury. I'm just going to go ahead and take a dart throw here, which is what the last round or two of your draft is about, right? It's about just taking those high upside dart throws. These are bench guys. These are not my starters. And what the hell? Swing for the fences, yeah?
I agree. I love it. And especially with your last pick, right? I mean, what do you got to lose? Look at the draft board. I mean, who are you going to take? I mean, right? Might as well just swing for the fences.
Yep, I can. Any of these guys, I can drop like a hot potato here that I selected in the last couple of rounds, and pick up the hot name of the week if I need to. So no problem.
Yeah. Gary Trent, looking at the draft board here, went in the middle of the 11th round. That's an interesting one too. Not touching him in category leagues, but points leagues. Going to score a little bit of points there for Toronto. I don't think I'd consider him in this league at all, just considering that I have a ton of Raptors on my team already. But that's an interesting pick.
Now, we talk about an upside pick here. James Wiseman, man, and Kyrie Irving. The definition of would you have spent any of your picks on Kyrie Irving, or is that just a completely wasted pick?
I was going to take Kyrie Irving with my last pick.
There you go.
The amount of times I've been sniped specifically from Isaiah in this draft has been crazy. But I actually love that pick. I think Kyrie's going to play this season. I just have a hunch. Nothing to support that at all. I just have a hunch. Think he's going to play at some point. So with my last pick, I mean, that kind of upside, sitting that on your bench, man, I don't mind doing that. He's listed as out, so you can put him in some type of IL spot that you have. I don't mind taking him at all. In my opinion, that's equivalent to taking a high upside player. Somebody like, a Trey Murphy or a Josh Giddey or somebody that you not reached for, but selected with one of your last picks.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to look at the draft board here. Once Joel is done making his pick, I got one more. I'm going to shoot for the moon on this one.
Let's see it, man.
Let me see. Did not get sniped this time. That's very interesting.
Joel Ruffin is looking to put opposing players in the torture chamber with his final pick, dude, as Lou Dort.
I like it. I don't mind that at all.
He's the definition of a guy that is just gonna, buck your whole team in a categories league because the efficiency is hot trash. But I mean, he's a guy that when he gets the volume, dude, he just shoots at will. And we saw that in the playoffs. We saw that last season, man. He just chucks up shots, and some of those shots go in, right? So in a points league, yeah, love it, man.
So I'm with my last picker. I'm going between two players here, and both of them are forwards. This is a tough one. With my last pick, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take Isaiah Roby with the Thunder. Moses Brown now no longer in the picture. He's in Dallas. Isaiah Roby, there's really nobody that's there. He's going to get a ton of minutes this season, flirt with double-double numbers. I don't think he's going to average one, but he's going to get a lot of rebounds. Double-digit points for sure is in the horizon for him. So I'm happy to get that. I was actually going between him and it was who was it? It was him and who it was. I don't remember who it was, but it was Chuma Okeke. But Chuma Okeke is not healthy to start the season, and I just don't want to take risk. So, passed on him.
Well, dude, I know we talked about the 7th round that I did not like, but there is the final round that I absolutely love. And for some reason, my draft board is being a little wonky here, but that's okay. We can still see the names down there at the bottom. I love that, and I love looking at the final round of the draft because we talk about upside, and it's super interesting to me how guys value upside because you can see from these different picks just how differently everybody is thinking about, what is their definition of upside? What's that final pick going to be?
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. And with Mr. Irrelevant here, Isaac Okoro, I mean, he played a ton of minutes last season for Cleveland. That was actually somebody that I've wrote about quite often, but fantastic pick there. Love it.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. There's some upside. James Wiseman, I'm not really sure what to expect from him this season, but I love it.
Yep, and then I love Roby. I love Olenek. I think that whole last round is filled with just upside plays there. So wonderful there. Let's just go ahead and do a quick breakdown here before we sign off. I know we're pushing midnight here for you East Coast folks, but and us included, obviously. Let's
Mhm.
go ahead and break this down. Any team that you love, any team that you hate.
Yes. I love Isaiah's team. He started off with James Harden. He got SGA, Michael Porter Jr. I'm not going to list the whole team, but
Mm-hmm.
I loved his team. Darius Garland in the seventh round. Just ton of upside on his team, especially ending with Kyrie Irving with his last pick. If Kyrie Irving comes back, I mean, we have our champion right here. So I absolutely love that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to pick on Kyle. I know he's not here right now and he auto drafted for most of the time, but not a big fan of his team. Best value I'll say he got was Chris Paul in the fourth. But yeah, auto drafting LeBron James and Ben Simmons and Kelly Oubre Jr. in the seventh. It's going to do it. So he also has Andre Drummond in the ninth. So not a big fan of that one.
Yeah, and just looking at some of these teams, I agree with you. I think Isaiah's team looks really good. I like what Shane did with his team. I think getting OG and Anunoby there in the sixth round was pretty awesome. I think his
Mm-hmm.
team has a ton of upside if Zion's healthy, if Nurkic stays healthy the whole season. So I
Mm-hmm.
like his team a lot, and I'm happy with how my team turned out. I definitely didn't go safe here, and I'm totally love the guys that I selected. Talk to me about the guys that you picked that were not auto drafted.
Oh man, I mean, I'm happy with it. I feel like I have a lot of guys that are going to see a ton of usage this season, from a Luka Doncic to Fred VanVleet to Derek White, even in the sixth round. I love that personally. I'm not really fond of the Montrezl Harrell pick. I know he's in Washington, and last season just wasn't too good for him in LA. But I don't like that. That's somebody that I'd honestly look to trade or just kind of get rid of at some point in the season. But that was an auto draft, and I would have had Jordan Poole on my roster had I not done that. So, um, yeah. But overall, I'm happy. If you take out the auto drafts, I'm pretty happy with my roster.
Good deal, man. And before we jump off of here, any picks that stand out to you as huge values?
Michael Porter Jr. Where did he go? In the third, to me, is great. Middle of the third, I think he's a top 25 guy. At least that I have him there. Without Jamal Murray in the lineup, I mean, he's going to be just an amazing fantasy player this season. So that was great. That stood out to me. And then also with you, Paul George in the beginning of the second round. That's a great pick. He's a top 10 guy for me this season, and you got him. With it was a third pick in the second round. So props to you.
Totally, man. So let's go ahead and sign off of here. This was an awesome draft, and I'm really looking forward to playing with you guys all season long. Again, this is Zack Hanshew for Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. You can find me on Twitter at Zack the Monster. That's at ZAKTHEMONSTER. And Alex Burns. You can find him on Twitter at Alex ALEXF Burns, BURNS. Burns, anything to add before we head off of here, my friend?
Just make sure you leave your milk and cookies out for Giannis Antetokounmpo tonight. That's all I got to say.
Yes, sir. Those are excellent parting words. So we'll go ahead and sign off of here for the evening. Thanks so much to everybody that joined us, and you guys have a great one.
See ya.
Share